What's up, people? Today we're going to do a preview of the 2019 World Superbike Championship. Welcome back to the channel. My name's Andrew Gosling. Today we're going to do a preview of the World Superbike Championship for 2019. We're going to have a bit of a look at the test that happened here at Phillip Island over the last couple of days and see what the results of that were. The good, some people were really good, there was some bad as well, and maybe get an idea of how the championship's going to pan out. The weather for the test was pretty near perfect. Got a little bit windy Monday afternoon, a little windy yesterday, and some misty half spots of rain, not even really enough to dampen the track. But overall, mild temperatures, overcast, some sunshine, just a really nice couple of days. I guess the thing that really showed over these days is that for the first time in probably 3 years, maybe more, we actually should have a competitive championship. We should have a championship where when the bikes head back to Europe to begin the European part of the championship, you don't have a runaway leader. I mean, all credit to Kawasaki and to Johnny Ray. They've put together a great team. Johnny Ray's ridden great. But when a championship is virtually done and dusted, half a dozen races into the season, it does get fairly boring, and it's hard to keep people interested. This year looks like being entirely different. We've got new bikes, new riders, teams that are finally starting to step up that have sort of been building over the last couple of years and are now up there and competitive. Fastest over the whole session was Alvaro Bautista. No real surprise, as long as the new Ducati was a decent bike, he was always going to be quick. The way he stepped onto the bike here at Phillip Island for MotoGP, onto Lorenzo's bike, and put the bike on the podium, it was very clear that he is a fast rider. He's always been a fast rider. His issue over the season is he's going to have to be consistent, because you can always bet one thing about Johnny Ray is that he will be solid and consistent the whole season. So anybody who's going to try and compete with him is going to have to do that as well. So Bautista's clearly got the speed. He just has to align it with some stability and consistency. The new Ducati is very quick. Fastest bike, I think, down the main straight. It's a bit confusing at the moment with the way that the rev limits and that are applied to different bikes. So if the bike continues to be that quick, they may have rev limit changes as the season goes on. That can be changed. But the bike is clearly handling well, and it's fast. He was pretty much fastest, I believe, in every session, all 4 sessions across the 2 days, and put in the last session, just put in a whole succession of 30s, high mid 30s, low 31s, basically race simulation type pace. So he was just, he's got not only one lap speed, he's got the pace potentially over race distance. Second, and quite a big surprise really, given that he's on a brand new bike, on a bike which, as far as they're saying, still has a stock engine, and that's Tom Sykes. To be fair, the fastest lap he did was right at the end of the last session, so he just went all out. But he did do like solid times for the whole 2 days. And if the bike is genuinely a stock engine, then there's a lot more to come from that bike. And to see a bike that this is really its first outing, that high up the timesheets is impressive. So looking forward to see what Tom Sykes can do. First Kawasaki, that was a bit of a shock because it wasn't Johnny Ray, it was his teammate Leon Haslam. Leon has settled in very, very comfortably with the team. He's obviously very experienced, British Superbike Championship, he's raced World Superbikes. His dad was out there, of course, looking, watching him on track. So he's clearly a good rider, fast bike. So we really shouldn't have been surprised that he got such a good time. Then Ray was next. He was around that third, fourth fastest for the whole test. And come race day, you just know that he's going to be there. And as I say, he'll be consistent across the whole season and he'll win plenty of races. Will he win the championship? He's got competition for the first time in quite a few years. So if nothing else for the spectators, it's going to be a way better season. The Yamahas were much more on song. They showed improvement towards the end of last year, and through this test, various of the riders were up there. First day, Lowe's was right in there. He was up in the top 2 or 3. He had a big crash into turn 1 on day 2, and that sort of slowed his progress a bit. He ended up 9th, but Melandri ended up 5th, and they were in that sort of, as I say, top 3, 4, 5. One or other of the Yamaha riders over the whole test. So again, nice, good solid start. Disappointments, and there were a couple of fairly major disappointments. Honda came out, new team, much more HRC input. Unfortunately, Leon Camier was the fastest Honda, and he was in 13th place. I think of the slowest 7 bikes, 4 of them I believe were Hondas. So there's a lot of work to do there. New team to the Honda. It's a sort of a mix up of a few different teams. You've got Althea involved. You've got Moriwaki involved. HRC. So. Just getting that all to gel and work, and then get the bike to move forward. Honda really does need to make some progress though. When you look back over the last quite a number of years, Honda haven't had a truly competitive bike since Colin Edwards' days. They've had some riders who've made them look good. Johnny Ray riding the Honda made the bike look much better than it actually was, and he did that at the cost of crashing a huge amount and hurting himself. But for the biggest motorcycle manufacturer, they really do need to get some progress happening. Clearly there's nothing wrong with the road bike, and there's nothing wrong with the bike as a race bike. In other championships, it does fine. It won the Australian Championship last year. It's right up there in British Superbikes. But at World Superbike level, for whatever reason, it's just got a long way to go. The other major disappointment over the test that came from the test was Chaz Davies. Apparently he was having some problems with his back, which was causing him to not be as competitive as he should have been. But to finish down in 13th place, he's got to be gutted to do for that when his teammates first and first by quite a margin. But Chaz is tough. I want to see him do well. I've always liked Chaz, going back to his like 125 days. I've always loved Chaz, but you know, it's been a tough few years for him. He's got beat up badly by Johnny Ray, and now, for whatever reason, you know, he's still struggling. Hopefully that will turn around. Another team that had very different fortunes this year to last was Barney Racing. This time last year with Forez on the bike, they were right up there. They've switched to young rookie Rinaldi, and new bike, new rider. They were 17th fastest. Hopefully Rinaldi is a good enough rider and the team can regroup and start to move forward again. There's only one wildcard rider this year, and that's Troy Herfoss on the Honda. He struggled for the whole 2 days. He finished last on the timesheets, and unfortunately his time was about 0.4 of a second slower than what he did on his Australian Superbike here at the test a couple of weeks ago. I think all it really shows is the fact that running a wildcard these days is very hard to get a bike onto the ground, on pace, in the time that you have available. The teams that are out there, the like Ducatis and the BMWs, they've been working on those bikes for 6 months, you know, and to come out, to put a bike together, you've got one of the most professional teams in Australian road racing out there, and it's still hard work. So, you know, he'll give it his all. He always does. So hopefully when it comes time for racing, he can get in there, and you know, it'd be nice to see him. He could make it into the top 10. Whether that's possible or not, I don't know. But he's got a big weekend ahead. He's got 3 World Superbike races and 3 Australian Superbike races, plus practice and qualifying for both. So he's going to be a tired little boy by the time Sunday night comes along. Just to look at the championship in general, there were 19 bikes present for the test. One of those is a wildcard, so 18 regular riders. Last year there were 22. 5 years ago there were 25. So there's been a slow but noticeable decrease in the number of bikes competing in the World Superbike Championship, which is concerning. It's, you know, financially, I get it's an expensive proposition. The positive side is that we're looking at the most competitive championship we've had in probably 3 or 4 years, and hopefully that competitiveness will encourage more teams to come along. There are no Aprilias out there this year. There are no MVs out there this year. Surprising to me also, there's no Suzukis. I really thought by now that a team would have picked up on the GSXR. It's proven to be extremely competitive in national championships, and I see no reason why it wouldn't be very competitive at World Championship level. But nobody's picked that up. Tenkata is gone, no longer the Honda team. So there's quite a few changes, and hopefully we're looking at a point where you know, you sort of changes work out and things then start to move on the upward turn again. I've always loved superbikes. I remember, you know, coming to Phillip Island the early 2000s, and there were just, the number of bikes was insane. For me, it was a better championship than MotoGP. There was competition, there were characters, and it'd be really nice to get back to that. Anyway, that's my short little review of the test and what my thoughts on it. If you have something to say, leave a comment below. If you'd like me to discuss something or you disagree with something that I've said, feel free to comment. If you like the video, hit the like, subscribe, click notifications, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.